to the following presentation of the National Football League on NFL Network.
On a Monday night in Cleveland, Week 15 of the NFL season continues in a huge game, essentially a playoff game for these two teams. When you consider the standings, you consider what's left on the schedules, it's the Raiders and the Browns. We welcome inside Joe Davis with the Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner. So for the Browns, Kurt, their head coach is out. Their top two quarterbacks are out. All told, 18 players on COVID reserve. And you hear coaches and players all the time talk about next man up, next man up. It's cliche, but this is the ultimate next man up game in a week where they've got to have it.
Well, and a lot of talk about the Cleveland Browns, but we could look at the Las Vegas Raiders and say nobody's dealt with more adversity than they have this year, including a coaching change in the middle of the season. But what you love for both these teams is they're right where they want to be, right in the middle of the playoff hunt, coming into the weekend just one game back for both of these teams. And as we talked to coaches and players this week, there were no excuses. They understand that this game is not about what's happening off the field, but about who's playing on it.
Even with everything going on with the Browns, you could make the argument that they are stylistically as well equipped as any team in the NFL to deal with this. They run the ball well. And if we're being honest, it's the defense that's stolen the show for much of the season, and the headliner of that group is playing tonight, Myles Garrett.
But there's not many teams in the league that their franchise quarterback is a defensive player, but the Cleveland Browns is one of them, and that guy right there, Myles Garrett. And coaches talking about him this week says he's the Michael Jordan of this Cleveland Browns team. He wants to make that game-finishing play, and he's probably going to have to do that tonight against Derek Carr if they're going to get the win.
Seems like it's been an ever-evolving situation for the Browns this weekend. For the latest, here's Melissa Starr.
Joe, it has been an interesting week here in Cleveland. 8 starters out with COVID, plus their head coach, Kevin Stefanski, who told us he will be pacing in his basement while watching this one. So, how do the Browns plan to win? 2 words, Nick Chubb. Stefanski telling us this is a Nick Chubb game, and offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt, who will be calling the plays in his absence, added, if he has to touch the ball 30-plus times, so be it. This is essentially a playoff game. Now let's go over to the Raiders sideline and Steve Weiss.
Well, thanks so much, Melissa. You talked about this being a Nick Chubb game for the Browns. The Raiders say this is a Josh Jacobs game for them. Derek Carr said they have to finally establish the run. That sets up the play-action pass. They have not done well, either of those the past couple of weeks because it's inconsistent offensive line. And interim head coach Rich Bisaccia said they've got to control the clock and get out to an early lead so they can get their pass rushers, Yannick Ngakoue and Max Crosby, after Nick Mullins. Joe?
All right, Melissa and Steve, you mentioned Rich Bisaccia took over October 11th as the interim, and Mike Prefer, who stood in as the head coach for the playoff win in Pittsburgh last year. They say there is a blueprint for this, given that situation. But Kevin Stefanski not here because of COVID. This game was supposed to be played on Saturday. It was awful here on Saturday. Cold and rainy, just miserable conditions. It's still a little bit chilly, but a beautiful night as kickoff is moved back 48 hours. The Browns won the toss. They choose to receive. So Demetric Felton, the rookie out of UCLA, goes back. Daniel Carlson to kick it. Huge matchup between the Raiders and the Browns, and off we go from Cleveland.